upon a time there was truth in journalism, where brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless. But then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative hid the truth of mass suffering, injustice, and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Howdy, Jordan Sheridan, live from United Corporations of America headquarters. This is Status Coup. Sorry I'm late. I was doing an interview for about an hour or two. Usually I'm live around 4:30 Eastern time. Starting to get a little bit more pep in my step after dealing with coronavirus. So thanks for sticking with us here at Status Coup. If you've been following, we've had bombshell story after bombshell story the last 2 weeks. Can't wait to talk to you guys tonight about that. We have a members call tomorrow. Tonight. Tonight. So we are about an hour, a little over an hour and a half away from our members call. Hint, hint. Sign up as a member right now, and you will get the link. It's through Zoom. By the way, to the person who sent me a nasty email earlier saying, Jordan, I'm not going to be a member anymore because Zoom is not protected. It's as bad as Facebook. Here's what I have to tell you. There's the door. Some of the emails I get from people, and I try, good customer service and all that, but some of the emails that people send when Jen and I are working 7 days a week, 24 hours, how many hours are in a day? 24 hours? 23 hours a day, complaining to us about things like that we're doing it through Zoom. Goodbye. Nobody's ever happy these days. I just can't.
You could dial in the audio with no Zoom
Right.
feature.
I control what platforms are available for mass communication. If you have a better platform than Zoom that's more protected, please send it to us. But you're not going to be a member? Okay, go take your bowl and go home. For those of you that do want to support independent journalism, statuscoup.com/join, become a member for 16 cents a day. That's $5 a month, 16 cents a day. If you sign up before the call tonight, you will get the link. Last time I think we had over close to 100 of you joined us. It was a lot of fun. We have more behind the scenes details to share. I'm going to have some words in the members call tonight for some of our progressive heroes. And I'm going to share details of my communications with some of those progressive heroes. Some progressive heroes, inexplicably, don't want to raise the roof, sound the alarm, or even tweet about a massive cover-up that we just broke in Flint, Michigan. So I'll let you know in the members call who we're talking about. So sign up right now. We are at 1,800 and as my computer takes its time, 1,874 members. We've definitely lost a couple members because of Corona and people getting laid off. So if you can sign up, it's as low as $5 a month. If you missed us yesterday because YouTube is hiding us in a cave, we have taken our GoFundMe out of retirement. If you remember, we had a goal of $85,000. When we met that goal, we basically stopped really promoting the GoFundMe, but I guess you guys didn't care because people kept donating. We've made another $10,000 over the goal, the original goal, just because of your guys' amazing donations. An anonymous donor left $500 yesterday. Somebody left from the UK 500 pounds in the super chat yesterday. So I'm going to be very clear with you. The reason we have raised the goal to $110,000, we're not trying to be dishonest with you or move the goalpost, is because we're hurting too. I mean, we're losing members, we're losing revenue on YouTube because of coronavirus, and we got to keep the lights on too. So obviously for those that can't contribute, totally understand, no pressure. But if you can, whatever the amount is, I think the minimum on GoFundMe is $5. Getting to that $110,000 goal will definitely keep us going pretty strong until we can get back in the field once the all clear is there. We also are starting to realize we need a much bigger budget for advertising. We need money for public relations, because even when we break news, we're starting to see it's not a guarantee that other outlets are going to pick it up. So I will put the GoFundMe link right there in the super chat. Of course, you could super chat too, but definitely sell crack. No thanks. Definitely drop it in the. Jordan, you should try Rofkin. We are on Rofkin. We just started on Rofkin, I think a couple weeks ago. Rockfin, excuse me. So Jen is handling that. Jen will be in the super chat. She's currently, I don't know why, on the phone with my parents. My father is, I love my father, but he's such a pain in the behind. He means well, but he wants to share the story with everybody, but he doesn't know how to send an email, apparently. My father, in addition to be drinking the Fox News Trump Kool-Aid, he doesn't know how to send an email to people. So he calls Jen, who's not my assistant. She's the co-founder of Status Coup, because I'm not picking up the phone for him, because I'm busy, to get her to send our story to X, Y, and Z. It's kind of cute, but kind of infuriating at the same time. So we might need to find a volunteer just to handle my father's desires and technological needs, if you could believe that. So we got 230 people watching. Smash that like button. It's the thumbs up button right under the live stream. We need every single person to press that like button. The more people that press the like button, the more people that will see this live stream, and I'll plug it a couple more times. Definitely join us tonight, 7:30 Eastern Time, 4:30 Pacific, through Zoom. I doubt the CIA is watching.
Or you can dial in with audio and no.
Can you come and say that?
No.
They can't hear you.
I told them in the
All right. Or you could dial in with audio and no video. So it's all good. We're going to get to Flint. It is 1 day away from the statute of limitations for new felony misconduct in office charges. So tomorrow is that deadline. We're going to get to that. But I got to start with Bernie. I haven't covered politics in a while. Thank you, Arlene, $10 in the super chat. Appreciate it. Thank you, Jen A, $9.99 in the super chat. You guys are the best. I appreciate you guys. I'm a member. Do I get the Zoom invite through my email? You should, yes. For those members that don't see the link, email us, info@statuscoup.com, info@statuscoup.com. I don't think Jen has sent it out yet, but if you have any problems with getting the link, email us, info@statuscoup.com. Keep those super chats coming and the GoFundMes. So I got to start. Obviously, we've been focused on Flint, so we haven't been following day-to-day politics. Some people don't like it, but I'm just going to keep it real. I don't know what Bernie Sanders is doing. I still love Bernie. I went on Jimmy's show. He was nice enough to have me on to talk about the Flint story. I agreed with him on a lot of things. I don't agree that Bernie is a sellout or a coward or any of these things, and I communicated that. Gene Shahid, $9.99. Not sure if you've checked your P.O. box lately, but I sent you a care package. Been sharing your Flint story with as many people as I can, but sadly, most aren't interested. Yeah, I've had the same thing. Haven't checked the post P.O. box lately because of coronavirus, and it's a little away from my apartment, but I will go and check it since you just reminded me you sent something. Thank you, Gene, for the super chat and the care package. That's very kind. Bernie Sanders, whatever, decided to drop out of the race, didn't want to put people at jeopardy by, having more primaries and things like that. Did tell his voters, keep voting for him in states that will hold primaries to get the delegate count up. Did a live stream with Joe Biden that kind of, to me, looked like a hostage video. It looked very uncomfortable for Bernie. It was very uncomfortable just watching it, because it's essentially like trying to pretend that you're all on the same team and believe in the same things when you're sitting there with a puppet for the banks, the oil companies, obviously the health insurance industry. They're all corrupt. And Joe Biden has not moved an inch. An inch. I don't want to hear that he's willing to lower the age Yes, they are trying to remove Bernie from the ballot here in New York and cancel the primary, which is absurd. Thanks for reminding me of that. I don't, lowering the age of Medicare to 60 is not a concession. It's an insult. Okay, so you're going to lower the age to 60, which, by the way, helps your private health insurance donors, helps the private health insurance industry, because they don't want people 60 to 64 on their payrolls, because those are, by the data, some of the most ill, in need of services patients. So they're happy to get those on the public rolls. That's exactly what a public option would do. They would put the sickest people on the public rolls and keep the relatively healthy, not needing a lot of services people on the private rolls. So I'm supposed to dance naked jumping jacks to Joe Biden's lowering the age to 60. He says we're going to cancel student debt for people making lower than $125,000 that went to public schools. I don't have any reason to think Joe Biden's going to fight for that. I just don't. I don't. There's nothing in his record. And based on what we're starting to hear about who he's taking economic advice from, all of this looks like smoke and mirrors. Because you are not what you say you are what your record is, and you are who you surround yourself with. And new reports are that Joe Biden is now taking economic advice from Larry Summers. Do you know who Larry Summers is? Former Treasury Secretary to Bill Clinton, former bigwig at big banks, did more damage to this economy. I think, who called him? Was it Crystal or Sagar, like the father of neoliberalism? Former Treasury Secretary Lawrence Summers is now advising Biden's campaign on economic policy, including its plan to revive the U.S. economy after the coronavirus pandemic, according to 5 people. And by the way, Biden's campaign leaked this. This isn't some grand investigative piece. They're leaking what they want people to know. And he's leaking it because he wants the Wall Street banks to know, hey, nothing's going to fundamentally change here, as he already told Wall Street donors. The Obama and Clinton administration veteran will likely roll progressives who view his past work on the 2009 recovery as too favorable to big banks. Hey, let's go a little further than the 2009 recovery. Let's go to his love for things like NAFTA. Here's Larry Summers on NAFTA, which decimated so much of America, including many of you that are watching. Larry Summers, trade is very complicated. NAFTA has proved to be more important than people supposed at the time, given events in Mexico. I believe Mexico would be a very different country, one much less congenial to American interests without NAFTA. Post-NAFTA, the Uruguay round was completed, the largest tax cut in the history of planet Earth. Oh, that tax cut really helped the workers who lost their jobs because of NAFTA and had their jobs and their plants closed down and their storefronts boarded up. Thank you for that tax cut, Larry. The WTO became complete when China became a member, talking about permanent trade relations with China, which, by the way, is why we don't make anything in America anymore. Why we are so dramatically in need of masks and equipment and all this stuff, PPE, masks, ventilators from China, because of permanent trade relations with China, because of NAFTA that Lawrence Summers cheerlead along. The WTO became complete when China became a member. For the first time, special selected trade benefits were given to a number of the most promising African reforming countries. So it was a period that saw progress, and it was a period that saw resistance, some regress. Oh, just some regress, like the total deindustrialization of the pretty much a 7 to 8 state region of America. The administration held the line against a number of protectionist suggestions that seem to have gained greater currency recently. This is who? The champion, the heroes of NAFTA is who Joe Biden is taking economic advice. And by the way, economic advice, he's taking his P's and Q's. This is not advice. His economic policy, if this is who he's taking advice from, why should we think that he's not going to appoint Larry Summers or Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan or any one of these Wall Street heroes as his Treasury Secretary, as his economic advisors, as his labor secretary? Why should we think anything fundamentally will change from the Trump administration economically if Biden is president? Will he raise taxes 0.5% on wealthy people and make that look like some grand victory for the worker bees of America? James Doan, $5. Jordan, I think Bernie has given up. He looks so tired and utterly defeated. As for Biden, I don't think he's going to even make it to the convention. Well, there's new information out today about that woman who accused him of assault. So Jen is definitely going to do a follow-up on that because I haven't had time. The Intercept did a follow-up there. So, and let me put it in the super chat one more time because Jen's not here yet. The GoFundMe link. We got 300 people watching, by the way. 195 of you have pressed that like button. I need another 100 or so people. Please press that like button. It's a thumbs up button right under the video. So he wants to surround himself with Larry Summers. Here's some more about Larry Summers. Like almost every elite Democrat, Larry Summers is so enamored, this is from The Intercept, so enamored of corporate globalization that he'll say just about anything in its defense, even unfairly trash his own political party. Summers, who was Treasury Secretary under Bill Clinton and head of Obama's National Economy Council, recently declaimed that one of our major parties, i.e. the Democrats, is opposed to essentially all trade agreements. That's maddeningly false in two ways. First, the president strongly supports the Trans-Pacific Partnership. He's a Democrat. The Senate Finance Committee just approved its fast-track bill, with a majority of Democratic senators voting for it. Second, while the base of the Democratic Party does strongly oppose the TPP and opposed NAFTA in the early 1990s, it's completely untrue that it opposes any trade agreements. One of the main slogans of the opposition to the version of NAFTA that was enacted in 1994 was "Not this NAFTA." Regarding the TPP, Dean Baker, co-director of the Center for Economic and Policy Research, says, quote, "If we had a trade deal that focused on improving the living standards of the typical worker, it would get plenty of support from Democrats." So Lawrence Summers is a cheerleader for deindustrialization. Lawrence Summers is a cheerleader for taking economic machetes to cities and communities and towns that used to be the economic lifeblood of America. Lawrence Summers, you think he's ever spent that much time in deindustrialized cities? In Milwaukee, Cleveland, Ohio, Flint, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Scranton, list goes on. You think he spent that much time there? You think he gives a damn? No. He's invited to the cocktail parties. He's invited to the Biden's fundraisers, both virtual and when everybody could safely get together. These people creating economic policy and that Joe Biden is apparently surrounding himself with, they don't give a damn. They look at things as a balance sheet. They don't care. And when he says there was some small regress, some small downfalls of things like NAFTA and those things, and yet Bernie Sanders is playing footsie with Joe Biden. And I know some people get triggered when you criticize Bernie, and I'm certainly not going Jimmy Dore's route. I think he's lost his mind, to be honest with you. I mean, I went on his show, and I agree with him on a lot of things. I think Bernie shouldn't have voted for this bailout. I think Bernie should have tried to organize against it. Maybe he is tired after 2 presidential runs. You know, he's a human being. We can't, as progressives, we shouldn't just sit here and bow down to everybody. So I'll criticize Bernie when I have to criticize Bernie. I still like him. I still think there would be no awoke progressive movement right now without Bernie Sanders. There was no progressive movement in 2015 when he first ran. It was dormant, basically. So I'm not abandoning Bernie Sanders. I still like him, but even our heroes need to be pressured. And I don't particularly know if you wanted to endorse Biden because you think Trump is a unique threat and even having someone like Biden is better than Trump. Okay. But there's a way of doing it. There's a strategic way of doing it. There is an effective way of doing it. There's a way of using leverage. There's a way of using your movement as a threat where they actually have to give up real things. Not just because you're getting pressured from all the media outlets and Nancy and Chuck and all these people. Bernie, you're putting people at risk by going on. Bernie Sanders could have simply said, Bernie Sanders could have simply said, listen, I'm going to support Biden and do everything I can, but, Joe's got to convince. Joe's got to convince millions of young people around this country. Joe's got to convince millions of Latinos around this country. Joe's going to have to do the work, and it won't come with words. It will come with actions. I can't excite young people and Latinos and working people for Joe Biden. He has to do that. And frankly, he's excited a lot of voters over the age of 50. That's how he beat me. But he's done a pretty terrible job based on what he's offering of making the case to young people, of making the case to Latinos. And I'm here to tell you, I'm not I'm not making demands. My movement is not just me, it's millions of people, and I'm not going to make demands for them. And frankly, if Joe Biden doesn't offer progressives something real, he could very well lose, and he will lose, most likely. Bernie could have done all that. When he has Joe Biden on a live stream, could have very easily said, Joe, we have some disagreements here. I think that this current coronavirus epidemic, the pandemic and the epidemic might be specifically about a deadly virus going around, but the healthcare pandemic was already going on for the last 20, 30 years. Okay? He could have put public pressure on Joe Biden during that live stream, during other joint interviews. You got to be strategic. And this notion, by the way, that Bernie has, that I think he's been convinced that if he is critical or he does play hardball with Joe Biden, that he's going to be blamed for Joe Biden's loss, or that he's going to hurt Joe Biden and it will hurt Joe Biden. Joe Biden at this point is doing worse than Hillary Clinton was in 2016. This is from the New York Times. Biden leads Trump in key states, but Hillary led by more. While polling shows Joe Biden narrowly ahead in states like Michigan, things looked considerably rosier for Hillary Clinton in many swing states at this point in 2016. So he's off of Hillary Clinton's pace from 2016, and she lost those states. He can't construct full sentences. Again, not trying to be a jerk, but he can't construct full sentences. He can't get through 4-minute interviews without losing his train of thought, or if he doesn't have his notes right in front of him. He's offering no big idea. His ideas in relation to the coronavirus are basically saying Trump should have acted faster. Yeah, thank you, Rocket. What a genius. Trump should have done X, Y, and Z. But he's not offering any big vision to make the economy work again for working people. Because once the regulations are off and things get back to quasi-normal, this economy is going to be affected for the next decade, maybe even longer. Joe Biden hasn't presented a damn idea for how to make small businesses whole, for how to give people who have been laid off real work back. Because a lot of these companies are not going to hire all their workers back at their same salaries and benefits. It's the same thing as the 2008 economic crash. Companies took back less people and started doing more with less, because the government that gave them bailouts didn't have any strings attached, including how much a basic limit on overhead that you have to have. It's going to be the same thing. Joe Biden isn't offering any real reforms in healthcare. You know what their reforms are for this coronavirus pandemic? Stop sabotaging Obamacare, stop suing based on Obamacare, and make Obamacare stronger. Well, how is it that in a pandemic, when over 20 million people have lost their jobs, i.e. their employer-based healthcare system, which the rest of the world, by the way, is fucking laughing at us. They're laughing at us. What are those crazy Americans doing? It's a pandemic. Nobody could work. People are losing healthcare and the government's not providing it. European countries are paying for 80 to 85% of payrolls to keep employees on the payroll, because there's corruption all over the globe, but at least in Europe, they actually care about whether workers could breathe, live, and eat. That's what we should have been doing from the start. The first thing should have been a moratorium on mortgages, on rent, on utilities, a basic pause on the economy. Landlords don't get hurt because their mortgages and their rents are frozen. Tenants don't get hurt because their rent or mortgages are frozen and utilities are frozen. And the government, which is clearly showing that they could print money, covers the bills. You can't go on indefinitely like that, but they certainly could have gone on for 6 months like that. Thank you, Martin. $2. Thanks for giving us great original reporting. Thank you for supporting it. We're going to have more on that original reporting in a little bit. By the way, I think Jen is in the super chat now, but I just want to remind you guys, we brought back out of retirement our GoFundMe, and we do have our members call in less than an hour and a half. So if there's any last minute stragglers, sign up to become a member right now. You can become a member as low as 16 cents a day. That's $5 a month to support real journalism. One of the perks being our monthly members calls. Yes, it's through Zoom. I'm sorry to that person who sent me a nasty email.
Dial in with no video.
But you could dial in with no video if you'd like. So sign up right now to join us. We are, what are we at? 1,874. We were at 1,900, but then we lost some members because people were getting laid off. So sign up. But looking forward to chatting with our members tonight, Jen, myself, and you. It's just crazy to me. It's absolutely crazy. And our revolution now, which, is technically separate from Bernie, but obviously they're doing things based on what Bernie wants. A group Bernie Sanders founded is pushing to win him enough delegates to influence the Democrats' platform. Our Revolution, an organization that was created in the wake of Sanders' first presidential run, has been pushing its grassroots army to persuade voters to back him in states that have yet to hold their primaries. The goal is to make sure Sanders wins enough delegates to push for key reforms in the Democratic platform. I love Our Revolution. I love Nina Turner, who was the president. I love Bernie Sanders. But we've done this already. We have played this hand already. We did this in 2016. I'm sorry. I love Josh Fox, who was on the Democratic Party platform. There was a lot of great progressives on the Democratic Party platform. I'm not criticizing them. But the Democratic Party platform is meaningless. It doesn't matter what they put on the platform. It doesn't even matter if you get them to put Medicare for all on the platform. Because the donors will allow those things to be put in writing, but the donors will never allow legislation to pass to put those things into practice. So, it's nice for Bernie to go into the convention with all the delegates he can get, but to influence the platform, that if Joe Biden's elected, he's going to surround himself with Larry Summers and possibly Jamie Dimon and all the usual neoliberal suspects. That's our hand right now. We're going to try and get delegates to influence the platform. I'm not saying Bernie Sanders should go scorched earth and say, hey, I'm sitting it out. Good luck, Joe. And urge his supporters not to vote. I'm not saying that. But God, don't just bend over and give them everything. And he's showing you that he's not serious. Joe Biden is literally putting his thumb in your face, Bernie Sanders. I don't know why people are so triggered when you just tell the truth. I think Jimmy and others are going past the line. I think it's absurd to call him a coward and a sellout and all these things. Jimmy Dore would not have a show and would not have the success he has without the Bernie Sanders movement. Ditto for a lot of other people. So I don't think we should be extreme. I still love Bernie, but at a certain point, you're literally working with the enemy here. If you think Donald Trump is 10 times worse, I understand, and I agree that Donald Trump is worse. I do think Donald Trump is worse than even the corporate Democrats. But what I don't think is it's an effective strategy to actually get progressive change, to just give up, surrender, and give Donald Trump and give the Democrats whatever the hell they want, because then they never actually do anything for us. Then all they do is gaslight you. Then when you surrender, credit you and give you kudos, all of a sudden the media loves Bernie Sanders. All of a sudden the media loves Bernie Sanders. He's a hero once he dropped out and endorsed Bernie Sanders. And then if Joe Biden wins, they're never gonna give Bernie Sanders a platform again. This is the time to play hardball. This is the time to say to Joe Biden, our vote is not guaranteed. This is the time to say to Joe Biden, hey, there's a reason Latinos and young people voted for me. It's up to you. It's up to you, Nancy Pelosi. It's up to you, Chuck Schumer. It's up to all you people. You got to figure out, you got to offer them hope. You got to offer them excitement. You got to offer them a reason to think it's worth going out there to vote for you over Donald Trump or somebody else. I don't see it. I don't see it. How come Joe Biden wasn't asked on that live stream by Bernie, what do you think about a rent strike? How come Joe Biden wasn't asked, what do you think about temporary across-the-board Medicare for all until this is over? How come Bernie hasn't brought up to Joe Biden, shouldn't we freeze mortgages and all these things? How come Bernie didn't say in that live stream, what are we doing here with all this phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 bills? Now the squad is apparently reportedly, starting to play some hardball with the Democratic Party. Squad members press House leadership for phase 4 relief timeline. Listen, we don't have the numbers that the Tea Party has, but we do have a little bit of numbers. Why do we keep going in phases? Why is there a delay right now to get money to people? Right? The most important thing is there needs to be immediate, not a one-time payment that people can't get, immediate, recurring, call it what you want, UBI or just a debit card, which Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib has proposed in legislation, recurring, refillable money to working class Americans until they get their jobs back, period. There needs to be universal health care, period. Related to coronavirus, it should be for everything. I mean, I don't understand why there's not demands right now. Frankly, there should be a rent strike. Nobody should be paying rent on May 1st. Period. Bernie hasn't led that. AOC hasn't led that. Rashida Tlaib, Ayanna Pressley, Ilhan Omar, Ro Khanna, Tulsi Gabbard shouldn't have paid rent a month ago. Certainly shouldn't pay rent May 1st. They're going to kick everybody out of their apartments or homes and throw them out into the street during a pandemic? I'd like to see. By the way, that $1,200 that they're giving you is taxed. I mean, for all Bernie Sanders has done, I'm talking about tactics here. I don't even have a problem with him endorsing Joe Biden. He said he was going to endorse the Democratic nominee. We could squabble over that. But there is no strategy here. It's just surrender, hand it over, and because you're doing it that way, he feels so cocky, so arrogant, and so frankly carefree to say, oh, great. Larry Summers, come on down. Neera Tanden, come on down. I'm sure Rahm Emanuel will be advising him pretty soon. These people are not much different than Steve Mnuchin. They're not different than the people supporting Trump. They're just not. On an economic basis, they're all in one club, and that's Club Oligarchy. That's Club United Corporations of America. I've heard differently from reporting that it is taxed. Somebody who just said that. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So, I've been working on Flint. Jen and I have been working on Flint. We haven't been, reporting as much on Bernie and other things, but somebody has to tell me why Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, Tlaib, Pressley, Ayanna, Omar, Ro Khanna, Tulsi Gabbard, Mark Pocan, Pramila Jayapal. There is numbers here. Why is it that they aren't screaming from the rooftops at the Democratic Party who's agreeing to these half measures, agreeing to these crumbs? There was never any need for 4 bills. There should have been 1 or 2 bills. First one was dealing with immediate working class people frontline workers, more testing, and in the second bill you could deal with, if you want, a much, much lower assistance for corporations. I don't even think they need any assistance, most of these. So I'm here to tell you, like I said, if Bernie's main goal is to get Donald Trump out of the White House no matter what, playing footsie with Joe Biden, unilaterally surrendering, doing hostage live streams, it's not going to work. And it's not working because he's trailing Hillary Clinton's pace. And I just saw on Rising, they were doing a segment that less than half of Latinos right now in America are supporting Joe Biden. Less than half. You want to know why Hillary Clinton lost? It wasn't Russia, I promise. It wasn't even James Comey. 5% less African Americans came out for her compared to Obama in 2012. 5% less Latinos came out for her compared to Obama in 2012. 6% less age 18 to 29 came out for her compared to Obama in 2012. How many African Americans you think are going to come out for Joe Biden? I'm talking younger African Americans. We know older people will come out for him. Same goes for Latinos. How many? They didn't come out for him in the primaries. How many young people? Some polls have him in the 30s among young people. Young people and Latinos, they don't feel like, in general, the African American community, particularly older African Americans, they don't have some fierce loyalty to the Democratic Party. They're not like automatic voters for the Democratic Party and just like, oh, you know, we have no choice. Their loyalty is to their wallet and their family. They don't have a loyalty to Joe Biden, to Nancy Pelosi, to Chuck Schumer. By the way, Trump right now is polling 33% among Latinos. He outperformed in 2016, 27%, which was better than Romney, and now he's at 33%. I think it's preposterous. Obviously, he's not helping Latinos, but 33% is pretty significant if you're Donald Trump for Latinos. He's at 11% among African Americans. That might sound horrible, but he was at 8%, I believe, in 2016. It's 11% now. When you're talking about 4 states making the difference, when you're talking about 70,000 votes was the difference last time. Yes, Clinton won the popular vote. If we had a sane country, that's how we would do things, but we don't. It's just insane to me that progressives right now, led by Bernie, are negotiating, come out and vote so we could get more delegates, so we could influence the party platform tomorrow. The party platform, if Joe Biden wins, they're going to put it on the White House wall and play darts or wipe his ass with it, one or the other. They don't give a damn. And Joe Biden, I think, will be different than Hillary Clinton. I don't think he's going to play hardball with the party platform. I'll think he'll say, let him have whatever he wants. Put it all in there. It's just paper. That's the truth. We've already tried this once. This was 2016. Let's affect the party platform. And you know why this is so dangerous too? Because it's this weakness, this poor strategy, it's making it easy for Trump to get reelected. He has not even started yet. Remember, folks, Joe Biden right now is behind Hillary Clinton's pace. Hillary Clinton lost. Trump has not started with the ads on NAFTA Joe. Wait till the nicknames come. Hasn't started with NAFTA Joe. Seth Peterson, $30. And thank you for your GoFundMe yesterday too, Seth. Jordan, it's good to see you're doing better and hope you fully recover. We deeply appreciate all the hard work you and Jen have done exposing these horrible, corrupt people that have made the city of Flint suffer all these years. I'm about to get to an update on that, so thank you, Seth Peterson. And thank you guys for your support and you caring about Flint and other communities like it. You care a lot more than the mainstream media does, unfortunately. But Trump has not started with the ads, NAFTA Joe, TPP Joe. He hasn't started with the ads, and you wait till he starts stringing together ads of Joe Biden incoherent. Joe Biden's mumbling and stumbling, calling himself an O'Biden-Obama Democrat, forgetting where he is, confusing his wife with his sister. I mean, the list goes on. Forgetting Obama's name. You wait till he starts with the ads of Biden talking about loving children, rubbing his hairy legs. It exists. Let's be honest. Ads with Biden getting a little too close to children's hair. This is not me mocking or attacking Joe Biden. I'm telling you what's going to happen. You think the Republican Party or Republican Party or Trump is going to go as easy as Bernie did on Joe Biden? Oh no, they're going to go scorched earth, because that's what you do when you're in it to win. So we'll keep following this, but I got to tell you, this is extremely, extremely discouraging. Extremely, extremely discouraging. And the most discouraging part, it's not even like, I'm not against Bernie. I still love Bernie. I think Jimmy and some other people are taking it a little too far. But it's just not smart. This strategy is not smart. Unless there's a hidden strategy here, unless Biden has agreed to put Nina Turner as vice president, or a real progressive as vice president, or told Bernie, you have my word, I'm going to appoint a progressive vice president, I'm going to appoint this person as Treasury Secretary. Unless he has that, which I sincerely doubt, he's telling progressives, I am not serious. I am going to hoodwink you. I am asking for your vote now, but when you vote for me, and if I win, I'm bringing Larry Summers in. I'm bringing Neera Tanden in. I'm bringing Rahm Emanuel in. I'm bringing Chris Matthews in. He's out of a job now. I mean, this is what he's telling you. It's not smart strategy. And it's not even like, if you want to say, oh, Bernie was too much of a nice guy. This has nothing to do with being nice. This is just stupid strategy. You've already been nice. You've endorsed him. You've done a live stream as a hostage. You look like a hostage, Bernie. So, I don't know what to tell you. Moving on, and a reminder, we are 1 hour away from our members call. Members call, so I hope we get some signups. You can become a member for as low as 16 cents a day, and $5 a month, that is. And part of that perk is joining us as a member. We did upload a members video yesterday, which was me behind the scenes as we obtained the audio I'm about to talk about. So if you've been living under a rock, and it might not even be your fault because the media hasn't been covering our bombshell, we broke a major story 8 days ago with Vice that former governor Michigan, Rick Snyder, he knew about the water in Flint a year before they switched. He was warned that Flint's water was very dirty. And by the way, don't tune out, because this is not just about Flint. This corruption that we're about to talk about is happening all over America. I think a lot of people sometimes realize these things are not interconnected. It is about Flint, but it's about you and your community, because these kinds of deals are happening everywhere. So Jen and I, the nuts and bolts are, we investigated this for a very long time, over a year. We got confidential secret documents from the criminal investigation that show Snyder's chief of staff, Snyder's treasurer, Snyder's right-hand man, by all accounts, his enforcer, his fixer, were all confidentially subpoenaed. Prosecutors that were fired were building an aggressive case against Snyder. They were trying to charge him. They found they had evidence against him to charge him. They were then fired. The charges were then dropped by the attorney. The remaining charges were then dropped by the new attorney general, a Democrat. The Democratic governor of Michigan now, Gretchen Whitmer, when she was coming in, said, I'm going to reopen the free water pods for Flint. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. She hasn't done jack shit. Jen and I are working on a follow-up on her, because we're starting to see follow the money on her too for why she's not helping Flint. The statute of limitations in Michigan for misconduct in office, which is a felony, is 6 years. Tomorrow is the 6-year anniversary of them switching Flint to the toxic Flint River. So tomorrow is the deadline Tomorrow is the deadline for them to file felony misconduct in office charges. Well, tomorrow is now, we got 7:30, 8:30, 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, 6, a little over 6 hours away. Jen, I've been refreshing my page. I don't see any charges. Jen and I broke this story a week ago that Snyder was warned a year before the water switched that there were bacterial risks switching to the Flint River, that there were risks of carcinogens switching to the Flint River, that his right-hand man and enforcer that represented himself all around Flint as representing Snyder in meetings was allegedly paying off sick Flint residents. We proved that right-hand man, early on in the water crisis, just 6 months after, there was a whistleblower in the administration that was pleading with the Snyder's top officials to switch Flint back to Detroit's water system, citing E. coli in the water, citing cancer carcinogens in the water, TTHMs. This right-hand man silenced her, threatened her, told her don't ever send another email warning about things like the Flint River again. Basically, threatened her. A source that knows her told us it keeps her up at night. It haunts her at night. It weighs on her conscience. She wished she would have done more. They knowingly shut down whistleblowers. They knowingly covered up a deadly Legionella outbreak, a bacterial outbreak. And we just got audio, which we played some of yesterday, that the governor's right-hand man in 2017, and it's not just with one family, went into Flint and tried to pay off very loud, publicly loud residents who were getting media attention. One resident in particular got removed from a town hall after going off at state and city officials. He got removed, and then a few weeks later, Governor Snyder's top advisor, who called himself Snyder's best friend, his college roommate, their best friends, is in their living room offering state-funded medical treatment for this man who was having seizures, severe cognitive loss, had to call his wife while he was driving because he forgot how to get to the places he normally would get, forgot how to drive home where his home was. Came to his living room, we obtained the audio, and just lied and manipulated them. Let's show you one.
If we were able, one of the things I found, not being a government guy, you call something a pilot, and all of a sudden you can get things done that you couldn't get done before. And so my question is, if we said, look, we don't know the answer, but because we don't know, we're willing to go down this path. We ask for a waiver, we call it a pilot, we say, find the $5,000, and we get approval for that to happen. Is there a way to determine, as you start these treatments, are they telling you that, there's a way to determine if it's working or not?
So we'll call it a pilot. It was a lot more than $5,000 that they paid for. And they told them, if you start feeling better, if your blood lead levels go down, because the treatment was called chelation, which extracts lead from your body. If it works for you, we're going to make it available for other sick Flint residents. As Adam and his then wife reported to them that it's working, his seizures are getting better, his cognitive functioning is getting better, nothing. They gave him the runaround. They told him at that meeting, but you can't talk about this. You can't go to the media, and you can't tell people that Adam's treatment is being paid for by the state. Yet, this same advisor, who we have the text messages, we have the emails to show it was being paid for by the state. Well, he went around telling other people, I'm a philanthropist. When he told you that he was paying for Adam's treatment, did he say anything else? Why is he doing that?
Not really, just, that he was paying it out of his own pocket and trying to help him out. And I thought, well, I don't know what all that is, but that's awful generous of you, because I heard that, the treatments were, pretty expensive.
Did you believe him?
But it was relative to that chelating treatment.
Chelation.
And as I said, I was under the assumption that it was the whole family. And then his wife told me that no, it was never the whole family. It was just her husband.
Right. And
so I don't know how that come, and all of that. But he made a lot of, appearances in different places, and he was pretty convincing of all the things that were going on. Anyway.
Did you believe him when he told you he was paying for it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And I had no idea what Richard Baird was being paid through by the governor, but I guess it was a considerable amount of money that was being transferred to him to be here.
Would it surprise you if the state was paying for it and he told the family, "Don't tell anyone the state was paying for it"?
Oh no! I mean, would it surprise me? Nothing would surprise me at this point in time, because I know that with my reason for getting with him and discussing things that we talked about was in trying to bring some kind of resolution or solution to how we're gonna get rid of this crap out of these people's houses and out of their bodies.
And did he give you the impression when you met that he has a lot of pull, a lot of authority?
Yes, absolutely. Matter of fact, I've been told by several colleague friends of mine that if you were talking to him, you were talking to Snyder. So there was nobody closer, higher up the ladder in the chain than Richard Baird when it come to and that's when in our conversation he shared with me that him and the governor had been college roommates and had a long-term established friendship and business friendship.
Folks, this is called a good old-fashioned American payoff. What we broke here is the governor of Michigan. It's for the courts to decide whether he was knowingly or not. His top person is going around Flint paying off residents not to talk. And then going to tell other residents, "Oh, I'm paying for treatment out of my own personal philanthropy." This is mafia level stuff, folks. If they would have actually had a pilot program. A pilot program is you put like 10 families on it and you monitor their progress, whatever the treatment is, and if it's getting better, you expand it to other people. That's what a pilot program is. This was, we got to shut these people up because they're getting media attention. There's other residents that are on the record with us that he offered them expanded Medicaid if they would quiet down and toe the administration's line. He offered new water heaters, new interior plumbing. All the plumbing was damaged from the river. New everything. New water heater, new shower, new everything. We're supposed to believe Governor Steiner didn't know that his top advisor was going around doing this stuff? By the way, Adam Murphy and Christina Murphy are on the record with us that Rich Baird, because some of the audio got cut off, Rich Baird told them, "I'm going to go back and tell the governor about this pilot program." But Rich Baird, by the way, this audio that we've had, Democrat Attorney General Dana Nessel, who Bernie had on his live stream last night, go figure, they've had this since September. Since September, they've had this. And they've known about what happened with the Murphys and first talked to the Murphys in July of 2019. There's crimes being committed on audio here. The other thing that's truly remarkable, and I played some of this yesterday, but we have a big audience, so I want to play it one more time. The biggest bombshell here is he lied. He lied about when and if they were warned about the water. Take a listen to this.
I mean, I know people see it differently, but at the top levels, at the governor's level and in his office, we knew there was a problem with the water, but all the answers we were given were, we got it under control, we just have to treat it this way, or we do this thing, or we do that thing. And it really wasn't until when Mark Edwards and Dr. Mona were, that publicity was there, that's when it was clear that the water's not just stinky and discolored. It was discolored when I drank it. When I was 7 years old, you had to let it run for, I don't know if you guys have lived in Flint all your life, but back when I was a kid, my mom always said, you gotta let the water run for a couple of minutes because it kind of came out orange. And but then we realized that clearly, I mean, it's toxic. It's not, it's not just bad water.
So the governor's right-hand man says they were told all along, it's just, the water's got problems, but it could be improved. We just got to treat it a different way. He said it wasn't until Dr. Mona and Mark Edwards, which was September 2015, it's not until September 2015 that we realized, no, this is toxic. In October 2014, almost a year before that, we found out the man on that tape telling the residents that he silenced a magna cum laude graduate of Harvard with a master's from Oxford University, with a JD from Georgetown University. She came to them. She called it an urgent matter. She was the environmental lawyer to the governor. And she said, it's an urgent issue. It can't be fixed. We need to switch Flint back to the Flint River, back to Detroit. There's E. coli in the water. There's TTHMs, which are cancer-causing chemicals. She put it in email to Snyder's chief of staff and other top officials with Snyder. She was then passed on, not to the environmental department, where you would think the environmental lawyer would be passed on to talk to environmental department and health department. She was passed on to Snyder's enforcer, the guy on that tape, Rich Baird. She was passed on to him for a conversation with Baird and Darnell Early, who was the emergency manager in Flint. They had a conference call. She reiterated her pleading for Flint to be switched to Detroit. She was told it would cost too much money. What we found out, this part was not known or public, Baird threatened her after. He said, don't ever send another email like that again, and he silenced her. This was a whistleblower at the time, 6 months after the water switch, when there was still a chance to save lives. A lot of people died at the end of 2014, and a lot of people died in 2015, and people are still dying of the after effects of that water. And they had an opportunity 6 months into it to stop it, and they didn't. So you tell me that the governor's right-hand man was just freelancing, just doing all this on his own, silencing whistleblowers, going to Flint, paying off residents. Well, if Governor Snyder didn't know, is there no criminal crime for criminal negligence if you don't know what your top advisors and your top officials are doing? Is this Chris Christie? Well, I didn't know what was going on in the bridge. If you're the governor, this isn't like a low-level intern. This is your top advisor. By all accounts, your right-hand man. The media had reported his point person on the Flint water crisis. You didn't know that he was meeting with Flint residents and making these private deals with strings attached? You didn't know that your environmental lawyer was complaining about the water? Governor Snyder didn't know about this email, October 17th, 2014, from Susan Bohm in the health department and epidemiologists. I just received a call from the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality as chief of the drinking water office. The chief of the drinking water office called. By the way, this was 3 days after that environmental lawyer sounded the alarm. We need to switch back to Detroit. I just received a call from the Genesee County Health Department. Flint is part of Genesee County, about the Legionnaire outbreak in Flint. Legionnaire is a deadly water outbreak. Snyder says he didn't know about Legionella until January 2016. This is October 17th, 2014. It's not made directly to Snyder, but this is the head of the drinking water office in the environmental department. They say the head of the drinking water office says she's concerned that we were going to make an announcement imminently. Yeah, why warn people that they're drinking deadly water imminently? She asked whether Genesee had the capability to test water. I replied that we've been working with Genesee County to coordinate. What she did share with me was interesting, that there have been numerous complaints about the Flint water, that the governor's office had been involved, and that any announcement by public health about the quality of the water would certainly, quote, inflame the situation. The governor's office had been involved. Inflame the situation. Hey, you know what was on November 4th, 2014? 2 weeks after this? Snyder's reelection. The Attorney General of Michigan has had all of this information for over a year. She's had the audio that we broke since September. The statute of limitations is in 6 hours. Nothing. In fact, the Attorney General's office put out a statement after we broke our story for Vice, basically, trying to confuse people. Oh, there's a misconception that the statute of limitations, we can't file charges past Saturday. They are the ones, I told you this yesterday, they are the ones in a meeting with Flint residents in June of 2019 that told Flint residents we are up against the statute of limitations in 9 months, which is tomorrow. They told residents that. Now, oh no, there's we could file charges whenever. They could charge involuntary manslaughter. Do people actually think they're going to charge Governor Snyder with involuntary manslaughter? They could charge that later. But the deadline for misconduct in office, which several state officials were charged with that and then had their charges dropped by this current Attorney General with no real explanation. That's the crazy part about this. The former prosecutors, the former Attorney General had built a case against 15 state defendants. 2 of the top state officials, 2 people in Snyder's conference call, in Snyder's cabinet, were charged with involuntary manslaughter. They had year-long pre-trials. Pre-trials usually very quick. This was a year, pre-trials. 2 judges decided to cross it over, to rule that there's enough evidence to send them to a jury trial. So by all accounts, the prosecutors, the investigators had been successful. They had binded these defendants over to face a jury trial. One of the judges called Nick Lyon, the head of the health department, who was binded over to face jury trial, corrupt. This Attorney General comes in, a Democrat. She fires the lead prosecutor, fires the lead investigator, doesn't even really do any debrief with any of them to find out what is it that they have or invest. Could you walk me through your investigation? And then she drops all the charges, and her explanation is, well, their case was bad. Well, how was their case so bad if they successfully got the two top defendants over to face a jury trial, which hadn't started yet? How bad could it be? It doesn't make sense. And as Jen and I are learning, the Michigan media is corrupt as sin. It's been 8 days since we broke this. The Detroit Free Press, crickets. The Detroit News, crickets. The Flint Journal, the hometown paper, the Flint Journal, silence of the lambs. I guess it's not a news story when you prove that the former governor of Michigan was warned about Flint's water a year before the water switch. I guess it's not major news when you learn that the governor of Michigan lied to Congress and learned about the Legionella outbreak 16 months before he told Congress. I guess it's not a major news story when the last mayor of Flint goes on the record. This isn't anonymous sources. She went on the record that Governor Snyder at Governor Whitmer's inauguration came up to her, Karen Weaver, and said, can you get Elijah Cummings to back off? Can you get him to back off? This is when Chairman Cummings was still alive. Because Chairman Cummings was the chairman of the Oversight Committee and had said, I'm going to bring Rick Snyder back in for questioning. Get him to back off. It's not just her word. We got it from 3 other sources that she shared this at the time. I also spoke with people in Cummings' office. Not a story, not worth a write-up? Not a story that the governor's right-hand man silenced a key whistleblower when there was still time to save lives? By the way, none of these people have disputed a word of it. Snyder hasn't disputed a word. Baird, silent. All of them, silent. The Attorney General hasn't even disputed one word of our story. They're acting like the story doesn't exist. And the media is complicit because instead of covering our story, they picked up her bullshit statement that we're still on track with the Flint water investigation. I don't know the Attorney General from a hole in the wall. I do know she doesn't like me. I do know she wants to find out who our sources were. We're never going to reveal that, obviously. But if a Republican governor is the one presided over a cover-up, and then a Democratic governor and Attorney General come in and basically let all the crooks, I mean, Rick Snyder, all these people, say what you want. They're entitled to a defense, go face the criminal justice system. I'm not saying toss them in jail, throw away the key. But there is clearly evidence here. And by the way, I and Jen, all the information that we reported, they have 95% of what we reported, and they've had it for over a year. So you tell me, what's the holdup? And how is it that with the 6-year statute of limitations here, how is it that they're not charging anyone? I'd like to know, and I mentioned this yesterday, where the hell is Michael Moore on this? He mentioned our Vice story for, I think I counted 6 seconds. A viewer sent me this. 6 seconds he mentioned it on his podcast. That's it. Not a tweet, not an appearance on TV. I guess if he can't take credit for it, it's no point. It's people like Michael Moore that force the media to cover these things because the media is corrupt on its own. The media is out of touch. And frankly, the media doesn't care who covered up the poisoning of poor people and black people. They don't give a damn. So it's important when celebrities like Michael Moore with a massive platform speak up. I've spoken with his producer back and forth for days. There's no reason. The reason, oh yeah, he's gonna, it's just, we have a new documentary out and busy, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, take your time. Do it when the statute of limitations is over. Better yet, do it, when people start dying off more. Take your time. Your documentary is more important. Your appearance on Stephen Colbert, more important. And, it might even screw me to say all this, but I don't give a damn. There's no explanation and no acceptable rationale. Democracy Now!, thank you for the 10-second headline. 10-second headline, Democracy Now! Young Turks, crickets. The Nation, crickets. The Intercept, crickets. Jimmy Dore had me on. Crystal had me on. I'm going on the Humanist Report next week. Ben Dixon was going to have me on, but I had to cancel because we were breaking this story. New York Times, crickets. Washington Post, crickets. BuzzFeed, Daily Beast. And I don't want to hear it about coronavirus. Yes, it's the #1 story. Every single one of these outlets have enough resources to do a write-up of 400 words. Jen and I have emailed every media outlet bullet form, so they don't even have to read it. And there's, by the way, when Detroit News gets back to me and says, oh yeah, 75% of this, I'm paraphrasing, but a lot of this has already been reported. I wrote back, oh yeah? Because I did a Google search before I started this story. It's never been reported that his chief of staff was subpoenaed, or his treasurer was subpoenaed, or his right-hand man was subpoenaed. It's never been reported. Karen Weaver is on the record for the first time saying that he asked her to back off, get Elijah Cummings to back off. It's never been reported that Snyder was briefed in person about the Flint water a year before, about the bacterial risks, about carcinogens. And by the way, if you think, for the 300 people watching right now and the members who we're going to talk to tonight, remember, we got our members call in a half hour. I better shower. I haven't even showered today yet.
Sure.
Sorry. If you think that this is just about Flint, Michigan, you're crazy. If you don't think that there's deals happening behind the scenes right now, it might be over the water, it might be over education, it might be over pensions, it might be over whatever. If you think that there's not Republican and Democrat governors, congressmen, senators, emergency managers, councilmen selling you down the river, no pun intended, right now, because they know the media won't investigate it, they know that, hey, they got away with it in Flint, then you're crazy. Will David Pakman have me on? I don't know. I've never spoken with David Pakman. I'd be happy to go on any show at this point. But you want to know something? You know, Washington Post has a little slogan, democracy dies in the darkness. Yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, the Washington Post is predominantly killing democracy and keeping it in the darkness. People die when this stuff is kept silent. There is no excuse for the Young Turks not to cover this. I won't get into detail, but they know about it. I said, don't even mention my name. If there's a beef, don't mention my name. Not a word. No excuse for Politico, The Hill, all these places. There's a news angle for everybody. I don't want to hear a word from Michael Moore ever again on Flint if he doesn't speak up now. Rashida Tlaib represents Detroit. Spoken out on Flint quite a lot. Her office got back to me. They have it. Nothing. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I think she knows about it. Ilhan Omar. Ro Khanna. Tulsi Gabbard. I've DM'd quite a bit of them. I've messaged their people. I don't know if Kyle has done a video. Kyle Kalinske. I don't know if he's done anything. I sent it to him. And by the way, I don't really give a shit if these people get bothered that I'm saying this. Like, fuck you. You know you think this is harsh? You know what's harsh? Children not being able to read anymore. You know what's harsh? 6 years later, adults and children having rashes, hair loss, kidney failure, all sorts of cancers, not in family history. 30, 40, 50-year-olds. Jen and I have found dying off like flies. That's what's harsh. Not your sensitive ego, Michael Moore, or whoever gets pissy that we're calling them out. Where's Bernie on this? I messaged several of his advisors. I'm sure they all get a whole lot of requests, but I'm not exactly requesting you to retweet a video of me doing push-ups. Although that would be cool too. I don't want to hear a goddamn thing. Glenn Greenwald, too. I don't want to hear a goddamn thing. Everybody's, Brianna Joy Gray is being attacked on Twitter. That. Trump's terrible. Biden's terrible. Everybody's focused on the day-to-day bullshit. But we can't get people to cover, share, the biggest environmental cover-up of the 21st century. Let me repeat that. What Jen and I have found here, through your funding and your support, is the biggest environmental get rid of environmental, the biggest governmental corruption of this century. I don't care if it gets me more Twitter followers. I don't care if it gets us views. It has to be covered and it has to be elevated by the Michael Moores of the world, the Rashida Tlaibs of the world, the Bernie Sanders of the world, Ro Khanna, all these people. Because if they don't, then people don't know about it. And if people don't know about it, there's no pressure put on government. And as I've always told you, politicians don't lift a damn finger unless you put a fire under the behinds, unless you threaten their power. I haven't heard from Lee Camp either. It's disgraceful. And all of these people should be ashamed of themselves. I don't give a damn if your documentary is out this week. I don't care if you're out, on the front lines of coronavirus. You got enough time to tweet something for 3 minutes that has been brought to your attention. Please. We're all doing 20 things at once. I don't want to hear about coronavirus as the dominant thing. Brian Stelter of CNN. A lot of local stories are getting left on the cutting room floor. A local story? I think I've worked harder after breaking this information, after reporting, after writing. I've worked harder getting people to share it, getting media to pick it up. Chris Hedges, I don't know. I think Nina Turner retweeted it. None of these people. What do you got to do? You got to find video of Rick Snyder putting lead in the water for them to care? Would Glenn Greenwald or Michael Tracy care if I could prove Russia's involved? Or, make it a thing where they could go on and rant about Russiagate since that's what they do all day on Twitter? What are these people doing all day? They get paid lots and lots of money to tweet all day. Jen and I are breaking our backs. Jen has 2 kids. She's sacrificing time with them. I'm sacrificing a lot of my life to break these stories. What are all these people doing all day? Pontificating and commentating. Even people I like. They're sitting here tweeting all day about bullshit while we're breaking corruption. And they won't lift a finger. I wonder how much they care. Maybe they care at a top level about corruption. Maybe they care at a top level about the Democratic Party being corrupt. But you want to know something? The corruption starts at the bottom level. Just like Bernie said, it starts at the bottom level. The corruption starts at the city and local level. This, as I've reported over and over, was a privatization scheme gone terribly wrong. Do you know who put in the emergency manager before Rick Snyder? Democratic Governor Jennifer Granholm. You know who pushed the Flint River too? Democratic Mayor of Flint, Dane Walling. Lisa Lightning, $4.99. Michael Moore literally running interview to interview. His documentary is huge expose against massive green industry fraud. It's really important. Hey, Lisa, with all due respect, thanks for the money. I've heard about his documentary. His facts aren't even right on most of it. There's a lot of environmental organizations coming out about it, and I've spoken to people with I trust. This documentary is a lot of right-wing bullshit talking points. Not one of his finer ones. And I don't even care. That's not an excuse for 8 days not to tweet something, Lisa. I'm sorry. It's not. He's from Flint, Michigan. In the media, he's the face of Flint. So I don't want to hear about his documentary. It's not all about Michael Moore. And if I look a little pissed off, it's because I am. In a normal, sane system. No, it didn't, by the way. Our story came out days before his documentary came out. I've been talking to his producer. They knew our story was coming weeks before it came. So you're wrong, Lisa. Sorry. In a normal, sane system, the media would care when you've proven a criminal cover-up. In a normal, sane system, progressives should care about a criminal cover-up. But put all that aside. If we're progressive, don't you care about people being abused by their government? Don't you care about children being poisoned? Because I got news for you. It's not enough to care when a comedian at the White House Correspondents' Dinner does, a viral thing. She drops the mic. Flint doesn't have clean water. And everybody's suddenly Flint water warriors on Twitter for 5 minutes. And then they all stop caring the next day. I care not just because it's about Flint, but because this is about what country are we? Are we a country or a corporation? I care because Flint is ground zero for the controlled demolition of the middle class and how that controlled demolition creates the conditions for something like a poisoning of a whole city's water. It ain't just about Flint. As much as I care about the people of Flint, it's much bigger than that. This kind of corruption has taken over our country. Do you know that the congressman that represents Flint, Dan Kildee, hasn't said a goddamn word about this? You want to know why? Because he's bought off by a massive private foundation and their business associates who are buying him off. He's bought off by a massive private foundation that we will report on at some point. We're doing additional research. And that private foundation, which is gentrifying the hell out of Flint and pushing poor people out, they do not want the water crisis to continue in Flint. It's bad for business. It's bad for attracting business. The congressman that represents Flint, Dan Kildee, is silent. Senator Debbie Stabenow, silent. Senator Gary Peters, silent. They all get money from these people and these foundations. It's an absolute disgrace. And this is part of why status quo has to grow. And we're going to talk about this on the members call in 20 minutes, which, by the way, we have a members call in 20 minutes. So I'm in a shower. Sorry to be gross, but I haven't showered yet. I've been busy. So I'm in a shower. If you want to join us, you know the drill. Sign up, statuscoup.com/join. You will get the link from Jen. If you don't get a link before 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, definitely shoot us a message. info@statuscoup.com. I will try to calm down before this members call so I don't have an attack. Thank you for watching. I think if my recovery keeps continuing, I think I will definitely do a live stream on Sunday as well for our marathon live stream. And if you can, drop a couple bucks in our GoFundMe, which we are starting to push again, because this reporting has definitely cost us money. And it's also, I haven't been able to go live, both because of coronavirus, but because investigative reporting takes every single day, all day. Sources, research, going through documents. So I can't go live on those days, which has cost us money. So I hope you'll support us, and I look forward to seeing you guys in 20 minutes. Thank you, Cool Blue 71, 20 bucks. I live in Michigan, Wayne County, county seat Detroit. Thank you, Status Coup. We will not stop working, not just for Flint, not just for Michigan, but for all of you. And at some point, the media is going to have to cover these things. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in 20 minutes for the members.